Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today we have entrepreneur. You like that word?
It's a good
Brett Hrbek. You seem to have your hands on a lot of things over the last, I want to say, I'll give a date, but that'll date you, and they can just look at that hairline and tell that you.
Yeah, I had a full head of hair when I moved back to Front Royal in 2000.
I can remember that. Yeah, I can remember that. It's been a lot of years. I had hair then too. Brett, you have been nominated, or no, you've been elected as the district president for Rotary in our area here. That's a big deal.
It is. There's 509, I think, districts in the world for Rotaries. Each one has a district governor, and July 1st is the Rotary year.
Yeah.
So I assumed that position on July 1st. Our district, 7570, runs from Winchester in the north down to Johnson City and Greenville, Tennessee in the south, over to Danville and Lynchburg to the east and the West Virginia line on the west side. It's essentially the 81 corridor.
All right.
We've got 75 clubs and around almost just shy of 3,000 Rotarians.
Wow.
In that district.
Well, I called you the president. You've already been the president of the club, right? So governor's a bigger deal than president.
Well, the Rotary happens at the club level, so I will say that my favorite, I love being president of the Front Royal Rotary Club. My job as district governor is just to make sure the infrastructure is established and working well for all the clubs, the 75 clubs, and to expand those clubs, to give them the support and training, to grow those clubs, to make sure that their activities are doing well. But we don't necessarily do a whole lot as a district in terms of community service.
Right.
It really all happens, some, but most of that happens at the club level, and we want to do what we can to support those and to bring those clubs together, to work together.
You facilitate.
That's right. That's right.
It's. I don't think the community always really realizes the work that that Rotary does. I mean, we have 2 Rotary clubs in our community, and we can look through the Royal Examiner and see story after story after story, and that's only a small fraction of what you do, because most of your stuff, you're not out there beating your chest saying, "Look at us." This is all done, kind of like just service.
Yeah, so most of the people that know me well realize it's a skill I have is tooting my own horn.
Yeah.
So you might hear that more often than not. But no, I appreciate everything the Royal Examiner does to support and to report on what our club, the Front Royal Rotary Club, as well as the Warren County Club does, because we do a lot in this community. And Rotary has been around for over 120 years worldwide. We've got over 40,000 clubs across the globe, 1.4 million members. And a lot of them are people that don't go out and seek the credit.
Right.
And it's an initiative that we're stepping back and going, as Rotary, how do we make sure that we get the credit, not because we want the credit, but we want to know other people to know what we're doing, so they'll come and join us.
Right. People like to associate with winners, don't they?
Yeah. So, the more and we can't do the things that we're doing by ending polio or helping advocate for peace or bringing clean water to Africa or even to Appalachia and some of our areas, rural areas in the United States. We can't do that without more members.
Right.
So we need to grow, just like every other institution needs to strengthen. A civic institution and governmental institution and religious institution needs to grow and strengthen. Otherwise, we become irrelevant. And we can't do the good things that we're doing.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Like I said, we think about it of the local, but Rotary International, I mean, it's international. It's everywhere. And I've read through some of your magazines and articles and things that Rotary puts out, and it's amazing the touch that our local club has around the world. And I remember I asked you earlier that George Carnes was a previous governor, and I had a lot of conversation with him. And I'm going over here. I got to go over to Africa. I'm going down to Tennessee. I don't know how he did it. I know how busy you are, but this is a big commitment to take this on. Even though I know you're trying to downplay. Well, you don't do a whole lot in district, but you do.
Well, it is a commitment, and it's one. But if it's a passion, and you have some great support. So, in my particular business, I've got 2 great people to support me in my office to help me make sure the business and my clients are taken care of. Family-wise, I've got a wonderful wife and partner who is there to make sure that everything is going on so I can do these things. So You might not see her visible, but she's in the background doing a whole lot of stuff to make sure that that's available. My kids understand that. My mother, who is just
Yes.
my mentor in all of this.
She's your biggest supporter, I think.
She is, but she became a Rotarian
Yeah.
recently as a retired individual. I said, Mom, you're doing all this stuff. You might as well put the Rotary jersey on and wear it,
Sure.
and then you can help me out some more. So, it is a big job. It is a big job. But I've got a great team across the district, not only in the Warren County Front Royal area, but across our whole district. We've got, let me put it this way. When I went, there's a ton of training you have to go through for this job.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there with my classmates in the southeast here in the United States and down in the Caribbean. And the things that they were bringing up, the problems, the concerns they had, I thought, I have to be worried about that because I'm not.
Right.
And I realized why. It's because we have such a great team of people across our district to make sure that our training's running smoothly, our foundation fundraising is doing well, the public image that we're doing, all of these youth activities, all these things that we do, we've got a great team here in our district. So I don't worry about it too much. I've got a great team to rely on, and I get the privilege of going out and being the spokesman and doing things like this and going to visit clubs and promoting an organization I just think has incredible impact on my personal life as well as on the world.
Oh, it's great. Everybody that I know that's a Rotarian says exactly the same thing. It's been a life-changing experience. And so I think people, to encourage them, this is a good group. I mean, it's not easy to join. It's not hard to join, but, Well,
let's talk about that because we are breaking down barriers and we're doing our best. So as much as I I don't want the old the white male and stale attitude.
Yeah, that was pre 2020.
Yeah, but I like. Well, there's a opening scene on Catch Me If You Can, where you have a Rotary Club meeting and it's in a big banquet room and you've got the silver. I kind of like that, but I know that's where the world's not there anymore.
Right.
I wish that audience was more diverse and what they look like, but I like that. But it's not anymore. So we're breaking down. We're trying to meet the community where they are and where they need to be. So if that means that we have clubs that meet in the evening, in the morning, at lunchtime. We have satellite clubs. We're looking at, in Front Royal, we're looking at developing an educator satellite club out of Warren County just to meet where teachers teach. They can't make a lunch meeting, can hardly make a dinner or breakfast meeting.
Yes.
But if we can do a 4:30 meeting at a school where they can come together, they know the kids better than the needs of the kids better than anybody else. So we're trying to do that. We're reducing the costs, all of those things, because we want, if you have a passion for service and you want to join a membership organization that provides service, and you're going to live the 4-way test that we have, we want you to be a member, and we're going to find a club that's going to fit your needs.
I was just going to mention to you the 4-way test. Every time a Rotarian comes in, I hit them up. Tell us the 4-way test.
I think the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Is it the truth? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned?
I think if all of us had a 4-way test in our life, in our actions, if we would look at that first, and we would do that. The mayor Cockrell was in, and they did their goals and they had a 3-way test. And I said, well, maybe the council should consider that every time they do something. She said, I want to write that down. That's good. And and it's true. If you have sort of a overall mission statement and you look at it and say, is this exactly what we're in business to do? And maybe we'd get a lot more things accomplished, or we'd get out of the weeds sometimes.
And that's where Rotary is. It originally started as a vocational, probably as I don't know this for sure. I'm sure Paul Harris was our founder. He moved from Racine, Wisconsin to Chicago, brand new lawyer, young lawyer. He met up with 4 or 5 other businessmen in the Chicago area. And the way they got the name Rotary is that they rotated offices. And it was probably like a BNI, probably a networking thing to share contacts. And then they eventually went and they did the first project in Chicago, which was a public restroom, which had a lot of opposition, believe it or not, because where now, if I walk into somebody's store and ask them to use the restroom, the answer is no, buy something.
Right.
Back then, it was, we don't want public restrooms because we want the ladies come into the department store. Exactly. We want the men going into the bar because they're going to have a drink on the way and maybe buy a dress on the way out. So this public restroom that they were putting in Chicago was a controversial thing. But so it went from a vocational aspect to a service-oriented, but we still have that vocation. So my whole point of that is that 4-way test is not just a Rotary four-way test. It's something that we as Rotarians can apply to our businesses,
Right.
to our other activities, to our church life, religious life, whatever it is. It's not there's nowhere it says Rotary in it.
Right.
It says this is what we think we're going to, and what we are going to do and say, and we're going to filter everything through that.
Right.
And if you can make it through that gauntlet of 4, it's probably a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's a good skill to do. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because our life gets cluttered with a lot of things that we really. I tell people the hardest word in business is no.
It's true. Yeah.
So what's on the plan for this year? You got your itinerary there?
Well, I mean, so Stephanie Urchik, who's our president international, who's fortunately out of Pittsburgh, so we've got a local president. She's the second female president of Rotary. First one was Jennifer Jones, who was from Canada 2 years ago. But she was pretty instrumental in the Rotary Action Plan, which is a roadmap. I mean, we're calling it an action plan. Some people would call it a strategic plan. But really looking at how we as Rotarians, as clubs, as districts, as zones, and then as Rotary International can increase our impact, how we can expand our reach, how we can enhance engagement, because if it's not a fun meeting or an activity, who wants to go? Sure. And then increase our ability to adapt. So we are, where I was talking about how, or what do our clubs look like? Do they reflect our community? How are we leveraging technology? Engagement, is it a fun activity? Are we accommodating? Are we having a meeting where you have 15 steps you have to go down so folks that had disabilities can't make it to that meeting?
Right.
How are we getting out into the community and encouraging people to join our clubs? And then what are we actually doing? So Rotary's broken it down to 7 areas of focus, and I printed up cheat sheets just because as you gave me the pop quiz of the 4-way test, I was afraid that I might miss them, so I'm going to bring them out. But so anything Rotary does typically or should fall under one of these 7 areas of focus, which are pretty broad, so a lot of things fall under it. But it's basic education and literacy, it's maternal and child health, peace and conflict resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water sanitation and hygiene, community economic development, and supporting the environment.
Basic life.
Yep. So, and supporting the environment is the relatively new one. Sure. So, I do have some of these things speak more to me than others do. All our clubs, or many of our clubs, are doing all 7. Our district have activities in all 7. But the ones that I'm going to concentrate on, you're going to hear me talk a lot about, are going to really focus around that peace and conflict resolution. Because frankly, all of them kind of tie together.
Sure.
We fight so many wars because of water. So clean water is essential for peace. Economies that are similar typically don't go to war with each other. So there's that McDonald's theory. If economy can hold a McDonald's, they probably aren't going to fight.
Exactly.
So free market typically do not fight with each other. So that community economic development really, and strengthening institutions. Supporting the environment. Actually, one of our, my alma mater, for anybody that's been under a rock, is at Virginia Tech. I wear pride. But we're having our district conference there, and we'll be planting trees there by the duck pond, and that's our environmental project that we're going to do. So we're going to plant over 3,000 trees down by the duck pond, clearing out these invasive species with the university. So that's an environmental aspect of it. Basic education and literacy. Obviously, we do, our club and our whole district, with our youth programs, with our Rotary Youth Leadership activities, maternal and child health. But it all is, and then polio, ending polio, which is the number one objective of Rotary, and we are this close. It's something like less than 10 cases of wild polio right now in Pakistan and Afghanistan. But all of those are leading to peace, and so that's what you're going to hear me about and talk about a lot. And peace is not Rotary's peace initiative, even though we were at the table when the United Nations was created. Our job is not to bring the Hamas and Israel together. It's not to bring Zelensky and Putin to the table. That's not the peace objectives. If that happens and we can be there, that's phenomenal. But me, Brett Hrbek, as an individual, what am I going to do? I can vote for one person, and that's coming in November. That really has nothing to do with Israel. What I can do is hold the door open for my neighbor or a stranger. What I can do is be polite and treat individuals as human beings with dignity that they are God-given. And that's where peace starts. We tend to think, we talk about act locally, think globally, but too often we think globally and try to act globally.
Exactly.
Instead of thinking locally. And peace starts right here, where we say, okay, you and I, Mike, we may disagree on what color is our favorite color, or who should be president of the United States, or what book should be in the library. But that doesn't mean we treat each other like garbage.
Exactly.
It means we treat each other with respect as human beings,
right,
with dignity. And that's where peace starts. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about that. And one of the initiatives that I'm asking all our clubs to do is put up peace polls. And I said on Monday night that when I was inducted, I'm a very visual person. I wear logos, I wear Rotary, I wear Edward Jones, I wear my fraternity letters a lot because it's a check. Now, the four-way test is my internal check. These are when I'm on the airplane and somebody's really frustrating me. I go, I can't say anything. I got this on. I'm representing Rotary.
Exactly.
I mean, when I had my Rotary garb on, I was saying, no, when my daughter got that yellow card and she didn't deserve it because it was the other person's fault, but I had my Rotary hat on, so I'm going to really be careful how much I say. So, but peace polls are those same symbols. So when you're walking through a community, a well-trafficked area, a park, and you see this pole, Hanley has one, if you want to see what it looks like the Interact Club did. There's a pole there, it says Rotary on it. It has different languages that represent the languages of the community that just say peace or other things that get you thinking, a QR code for you to think more about it. Is it going to, will it stop the guy from, he sees it and goes, oh, now I'm not going to rob the little old lady? No, I don't think so. Maybe it will, but I don't think so. What I will say, though, is it's going to create a conversation, and it's something to remind us and reflect on what that means for us and how we can be more peaceful in our own communities. So that is something, and there's a actually really cool, there's a interactive map. So, there's the love map where you can go and visit all the love signs. Same thing on the peace pole. So if you want, you can have a collection of pictures of you by peace poles across the world. So that one, and the other big one, big initiative besides community and economic development, which I'll get to, is the mental health issue. And our previous president, Gordon out of Scotland, his brother, he's older, but his brother committed suicide. So he took it on as a presidential initiative to talk about mental health. I actually like to call it mental fitness as opposed to mental health. I think it destigmatizes that word, and it also it just lends itself to that.
More inclusive.
And
it's
also,
it affects everyone.
We don't talk about our physical health as much as we talk about physical fitness. I go to the gym to work out my body. You got to do the same thing with your mental health. You got to work it out, and you got to keep it fit. Father of 3 boys. I've got a daughter as well. But I'm really concerned about the mental fitness of the men and boys right now. And that's not to distract anything from girls, but the American Institute for Boys and Men, which is a newer organization, has put out stats in conjunction. They're working with the Gates Foundation, but the Surgeon General of the United States is going to reaffirm this crisis in boys and men, just to the point where the risk of suicide is 4 times higher for boys and young men than their female counterparts. And it's risen by 40% since 2010. And since Title IX, which is a phenomenal piece of legislation to bring parity and equity between boys and girls and men and women, since that was passed in 79, we are now flipped, where only 42% of men are getting college degrees as opposed to the way it was back in the 70s. And that's not the disparity is causing a mental fitness problem for boys and men. So I really want to highlight that. I don't really know what the answer is. I don't know that there is a answer, but I can tell you that the men in Rotary, we have an obligation, and we can go and be mentors. So I look at the people that in my life, the women in my life were phenomenal, the women teachers and whatnot. But I look at my dad was an instrumental person in my life in coaching. So Rotarians were instrumental in my life in terms of being coaches and mentors. So we need more men to be those, and we're losing it. There's not as many men teachers. So as I said the other night, we don't just need more female STEM careers. We need more males in the HEAL careers, those health, education, type of careers, social services. We need men there, so those boys who are fatherless have men that they can look up to.
Right.
And how do we do all that? We grow our membership.
Right.
And that's, if you have a call to service, if you desire that membership, well, Rotary's, Kiwanis, Lions, all of them are great. I happen to think Rotary's the best. I mean, that's the one I chose.
That's where you're at now.
But but that any of those are getting involved with the United Way, Chamber, all these institutions that we need. So Oprah Winfrey and Arthur Brooks wrote a book recently about happiness. And Arthur Brooks is a Harvard professor on happiness, and he came up with 3 things that you need to be on the path to happiness. He says you can't be happy. You can't. There's no end happiness.
Right.
It's only a
here
journey.
I am, right?
Your journey to happiness, because you have to have sadness, otherwise you don't understand happiness. But one, you have to have enjoyment, and enjoyment is done with other people. So pleasure is by yourself. That drug hit, the Facebook post, the dopamine hit, that's pleasure. That can be done alone. Enjoyment has to be done with each other. And that's why it's funny. He said, nobody, Bud Light or, Coors doesn't put a commercial up there of a person drinking alone. It's always with somebody else.
Oh, yes, always.
So the enjoyment comes from the fellowship. The pleasure might come from the beer. Right. The next one is sacrifice. So you have to give up something. Getting an A on a test that you cheated on is not enjoyable or not bring you happiness. It gives you an A, but you have to sacrifice, study, money, something. And the last one is purpose. So what is your why? What is the inner? Do you have faith?
What gets you out of bed in the morning?
What is your purpose? To me, sounds like a Rotary Club to me that's doing, that is what we were talking about in the action plan, that is doing a participation engagement, because it's fellowship. So you're doing things together that are fun. You are sacrificing because there is time. You're getting your hands dirty. There's lots of things that are going on. And it gives you a purpose. It gives service above self. We've got our mission statement. We've got our 4-way test. There is a reason to be in our club. It's a purpose. It drives some meaning for life. So happiness, Rotary Club equals happiness. I don't know.
Well, that's right. That sounds like a bumper sticker.
Yeah, right. And what does it do? It also helps with the mental fitness.
It does.
So for all people. And what does that do? Strengthens our institutions. Creates healthier societies, creates a more peaceful society where our tribal instincts of wanting to identify with somebody or something. Now I'm identifying with Rotary as opposed to being a fill-in-the-blank political party or some authoritarian out there that then we fight. Because our instincts as beings is to might makes right. I'm distrustful of you, and that's why my tribe protects me.
You're going to get something that I can't get. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So that's so it all comes together, and that's just not Rotary. That's, like I said, that's all the institutions.
Sure.
Your church, your synagogues, your institutions of faith, the United Way, the Chamber of Commerce, all these institutions. We just need to grow them and make them healthier, and so we can be more peaceful.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're very passionate. Let's touch real quick on something, because you mentioned all this and it all kind of rolls around, and that's the youth activities, the early act. I don't think people realize, and I know Michael Williams is really big in over at the school where he teaches at E. Wilson, and you talked about the mentors. They had that Boys to Gentlemen Club. I went over there and did a little story on them. Just putting that jacket on them, you could see that their whole personality changed. Just putting that jacket over top their T-shirt that they put on, little things. But that mentorship that Rotary men do, and women too. But I'm saying that reflects, because we know that particular school is probably, the statistics are single family, grandparents raising their kids, etc. And they're lacking that. It's like a 3-legged stool. When they're missing a leg, it's hard to balance the stool. And I think this early act is really. And when I went to their club meetings at the school, it's not just 10 kids. There's 60 kids there, and kids don't join things that they don't enjoy. Yeah. So it shows you the influence.
Absolutely. Well, so Michael, it's helpful when your faculty advisor and teacher is a big kid himself.
Yeah. He definitely is a kid.
Michael is phenomenal, a phenomenal teacher and Rotarian, and we're just so grateful, and because of that, I've asked him to serve as our youth services coordinator for the whole district. So not only is he charged with, he took on to start that early act there at Wilson Morrison and do what he does there, he's doing that across the board. And man, what a champion he is for.
He said, look, this works.
For Early Act, which is, so that as they don't know, Early Act is the Rotary version for elementary school kids. Interact is our middle and high school. And then Rotaract is another thing that you can get involved with if you don't want to be in Rotary. United States, it has traditionally been on the college campus. Worldwide, it's been for younger adults. But that Early Act program to teach those kids the understanding of service, of fellowship, of healthy relationships, doing the four-way test, understanding the importance of the Pledge of Allegiance, doing little activities around your school to help other people. Every person can be involved in that. And we've got a club at LFK as well as Hilda J. Barber. And that is a district program. That is not a Rotary International program. So other districts might have something that they call something else. We happen to adopt the Early Act title, but we have a phenomenal, especially in Warren County, but our district does too, phenomenal youth program between Rotary Youth Exchange, which we're hosting 6 kids from out of the country, one of them being a Ukrainian student for the second year in a row. And really, because I was a little conflicted about whether he should go back because he's 16 and it's his country. But at the end of the day, Ukraine is going to need professionals and people to come back to it and reestablish that country in a healthy way. So we're developing this young man here in the Waynesboro area to do that. My family's hosted in the past 3 exchange students. What a phenomenal way to bring peace and understanding across the borders for our youth, and folks in Warren County and Skyline High School might not ever meet somebody from a different country except for this experience. Interact, a great way again for middle and high school kids to be involved. The Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, which is a conference that we do at Virginia Tech in the first weekend of December, where kids from across the district come down and learn leadership activities. My daughter's been a couple of times and she just fell in love with it. So all of these things are wonderful opportunities for our youth, and not again to take away from anything else. The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, Key Club, all of these great institutions that are out there for kids. But Interact is a special one as well because it does have that Rotary brand that we know is successful.
Well, we're going to put the links to the websites and to the Rotary website as well, so people can get in touch with you and find out all the great things that you're doing. And so keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And congratulations on this appointment that you have, taking on a really important work in our district. And I'm sure you'll be bringing all the great things that you've done in Warren County will now go around and just head on down the valley and just make it even better than it already is.
Well, I appreciate I get to be the steward for a year, and I turn it over to Andy Van Hook next year, who's from the Harrisonburg area, and then Charlotte Whitted. We know that line of continuity. So it is not just me; it's a team. I just get to happen to be the person that gets to be on in that position this year.
Well, and I think too that it shows you that I just mentioned George Carnes from Front Royal and you from Front Royal. That's 2 out of 75 clubs that I know of in the recent years that have become this governor. That shows you that, you just don't get that way unless your club's doing something.
I'm the 5th governor for my club. George was the 2nd from his club. So we've had 7 from Warren County
an influence
over the past
so
100 years.
Our community's having an influence up and down the valley. So it just shows you what the clubs are doing. They're not just sitting down, not doing anything.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, thanks again, Brett, for coming in, talking to us, sharing this passion that you have, and hopefully we'll encourage people to get in touch with you and other Rotarians, and maybe they'll join one of these
clubs. You see this logo, go
Yeah.
up to that person and talk to them.
Don't be afraid to ask, because they will talk to you.
Oh, we will.
Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.